Local, live. This is Kansas City on the Record.
Welcome to Kansas City on the Record. I'm Brad Stevens. We are excited to bring you something new every Sunday morning. Our mission is simple: real conversations about the big issues impacting our greater Kansas City community. And if we do our job right, our conversations here will lead to a better understanding of our city and our country. For our very first episode, there may be no bigger issue to tackle with two of your locally elected leaders than the impact of immigration enforcement. The Trump administration's crackdown has been in the headlines for months, and we've felt the ripple effects here in Kansas City. From the death of Renee Good, who moved to Minneapolis after living in Kansas City's Waldo neighborhood, to the proposal of an ICE detention center in South KC. We've also seen ICE agents in the metro arresting workers at local restaurants. Border Patrol and ICE's tactics reached another flashpoint last weekend with the killing of Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse for veterans. The president says he wants to launch a full investigation into his death. ICE's tactics have been under fire and called into question for months, with some fearing their operation could continue to expand. So we talked with Republican Congressman Mark Alford and Democrat Congressman Emanuel Cleaver to get them on the record about their stance on what's happening with the agency. For clarity, I sat down for my conversation with Congressman Alford days before Alex Preddy's killing. He was not available for an interview this week, but after the events this weekend, we reconnected with Alford, who tells us his feelings and sentiments from our interview have not changed. Videos show federal immigration agents deploying tear gas and firing less than lethal rounds into a Minneapolis crowd Tuesday. It's the same day many agents left the city. Among them is former Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Gregory Bovino, who will be reassigned back to his base in California. It follows the killings of U.S. citizens Renee Good and Alex Preddy, along with weeks of face-off between immigration officers.
Stop! Look out!
And angry protesters. The scenes and their ripple effects have been polarizing.
Well, I first thought about the families who saw their family members leaving, going to something that was not supposed to be violent. This is the United States of America. And then I think, you know, they thought they were exercising their rights to protest and their First Amendment rights, and then they ended up getting killed.
Americans have good hearts, and I think individuals like Ms. Good, who had a good heart, wanted to go to Minnesota. I know she and her wife had moved up there, I think, 8 months prior to that from Kansas City. But I'm not doubting her motives. I'm doubting her actions. Any individual who would stand in the way of law enforcement officers carrying out their legal duty to deport illegal aliens. It's very unfortunate about what happened to her, but I do believe that she and many other individuals up there are brainwashed by the left into thinking that they are doing good by interfering, deterring, even some assaulting federal police officers. And that cannot stand in America. We can't have that anywhere.
Polling from CBS News and YouGov shows a majority of Americans think agents are being too tough when stopping and detaining people.
Some would say that ICE agents and the response has been too overreaching, has gone too far, has been too strong-armed. Your thoughts?
Well, look, ICE has done what it's had to do to affect the detainment and arrest of individuals here illegally. You might remember when they went into California originally earlier this year, they weren't wearing masks, but because of the doxing of these individuals, because of the threats, because of the protests that turned violent, they had to suit up in what would consider unnecessary uniforms and garbs that look militaristic.
So you don't think that ICE agents in any capacity have gone too far in addressing what's going on in Minneapolis?
I think the ICE officers, the video that I've seen, have taken the necessary steps to maintain control, especially when law enforcement there has been asked, local law enforcement, to help support them, and they have abandoned the federal officers.
These ICE agents, with 47 days of training, in some instances 47 days of training, are ill-equipped to deal with an urban event. you can tell that they've been told, to be rough by looking at what they're doing, and shoving a woman into the snow. And I think about that, almost every hour now, and that I probably would have gone over to help her up as well. And so now demonstrating in the United States is as dangerous as demonstrating in Iran.
Fired defensive shots.
In the hours after both Preddy and Good's killings, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem called them domestic terrorists. She also accused Preddy of arriving to kill law enforcement.
The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
The sentiment was echoed by former Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovina. It's a direct contrast to multiple videos recorded by other protesters. In each clip available, it appears Preddy never drew his gun. Instead, an agent appears to take it from him. Then, shots are fired shortly afterward. Records show he had a concealed carry permit. In a statement following the shooting, Congressman Alford calls this an avoidable tragedy, saying, "Every American has the right to peacefully assemble. As a longtime advocate for our Second Amendment rights, I also believe Americans have the God-given right to lawfully carry a firearm. However, no one has the right to obstruct law enforcement, threaten officers, or resist arrest. When someone does any of those things, they put themselves at risk of being met with the use of force. Similarly, when state and local officials incite chaos by encouraging people to obstruct federal law enforcement, chaos is exactly what they will get." Congressman Cleaver sees this differently.
We have a secretary there with no background, zero, zilch, nothing in law enforcement, who is going on television every time we have an incident and telling us, what you just saw is not real. That's not what happened. And then they go on to describe some kind of movie situation. So this is not healthy for the United States of America.
400 miles away, here in Kansas City, the next phase of immigration enforcement and detention is taking shape. Federal officials toured this facility in South Kansas City. They're considering making it the home of a new ICE detention center. It scales more than 920,000 square feet and could house more than 7,000 detainees. In the days after officials took a tour of the building, the Kansas City Council passed a moratorium in an attempt to block it. Cleaver, who was against the facility, says it may happen anyway.
Do you think it's inevitable?
Under the circumstances in which we are functioning right now as a government, it's inevitable, because I don't think we can stop it. And I think any resistance, for whatever reason, seems to embolden the people who are in charge. And this is going to eventually, I think, create a community here of men and women who are going to be afraid because they've seen what happens. And I'm sure they've been told, just do it, don't worry about anything. We have eminent domain rights over everything. In other words, if the city said we didn't want it, they could do it anyway.
Congressman Alford says if Kansas Cityans don't want it, he'll take it in his district. He's proposed using a 7-acre lot at 155th and North Scott in Belton.
What would be the primary benefits to the residents of Cass County?
I think, number one, the jobs that would come with this. This is a big facility. It's going to bring jobs, and it's going to be an economic boost to that particular blighted area, if you will. There's a second area just south of the law enforcement complex in Cass County. I know you've been to there in Harrisonville. The county owns 70 acres there, and they're looking at expanding there. That facility was put in some 20 years ago. I talked to the sheriff, Jeff Weber. They have already outgrown that facility. They house right now federal inmates there. I don't think a lot of people realize how many federal inmates are housed at county facilities. All over the 4th Congressional District, counties are housing, and they're getting $80 to $100 a day per individual. So they're looking at expanding the law enforcement center there in Cass County, and this could be a symbiotic relationship to have the ICE facility there as well.
But you can understand why so many people would disagree with what's happened in Minneapolis, and a distrust of ICE as a whole. There are many people who have expressed that sentiment. Why bring this into Cass County to bring that controversy to your district?
This is not about bringing controversy. This is about giving law enforcement, which we believe in, and the mission of ICE, giving them an opportunity to have a cooperative government, a cooperative community.
Well, my friend Mark Alford, I would support him in his request to get ICE to come into his district. I think, if that's what he wants. He's probably one of the few people in the country who would make that request, I think. But I would prefer that ICE relocate into an area where they're not going to end up in close contact with the citizens of the 5th Congressional District.
In Congressman Claver's district, Jackson County leaders are considering an ordinance which would ban federal agents from wearing masks. We asked both where they stand on the idea and how we can cool the temperature in a heated political climate when we come back.